Welcome back to the Center on Buffalo podcast. This week we're joined by Jets legend Nick Mangold, former center for the team, guy who I looked up to in my career. This is going to be a fun one. Welcome on the show, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you reached out.
So you're coaching some high school football now. How's the team doing now?
Team's doing well. We're 5-1, grinding away. We're on the bye week this week, which is kind of weird for a high school having a bye week. But, so we're settling in, trying to do a little self-scout, get ourselves right for the last push. We got 3 more games before the playoffs begin. So see where we're at, and hopefully we can do some good things.
Yeah, that's fun. So you're enjoying it?
I'm loving it. I when I signed up to do it, I had 2 expectations. One, as being in the NFL, you're at the peak of football. And, so I knew going back to high school, there was going to be some frustration, with hey, like, why aren't we just more talented? But, and then I also knew, like, I was expecting there was a sense of fun. Like, football is fun. Like, I love football. And so I expected it to be pretty fun. I think the frustration level was exactly what I thought. So it's not good or bad. It's just exactly, going back to high school football, there are different things that, obviously these are not all NFL guys. And, as long as you understand that, you can easily separate that. But what I didn't realize was how much more fun I was going to have. These guys, the kids are amazing. We have an amazing staff who have been really welcoming to me coming in. And so it's been so much more fun than I expected. And winning always helps. So 5-1 probably, puts a little rose-colored glasses on that as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And you're probably in the same boat as me, knowing that you got into coaching high school football, you enjoyed it. You're like, okay, well, I'd love to coach in the NFL. I'd love to coach in college. That'd be a lot of fun, but the amount of hours they put in, I know you got kids as well. It's just pretty unrealistic, coming out of your career to hop right in. I'm assuming you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, I mean, although I was looking at some of those paychecks, and I was like, wow, offensive line coaches are getting paid pretty well these days. But no, I've always said, and I said it when I was playing, if I ever got into coaching, the highest level I would ever want to do is high school. I had great high school coaches who, kind of steered me in the right direction. And, you get the opportunity to meet kids and coach kids as they go from being boys to men. And, when you're able to help those kids and shape their lives and teach them about the great game of football and what it means, not only as a game, but also as a metaphor for life, is pretty special. So I knew high school was going to be the top level. There was no way I could do recruiting in college. I'm not going into some 17-year-old's house and being like, you're the best thing ever. I need you to come play for me. You're going to start right away. I tell the kid, you're mediocre at best. If you get in the weight room and you work really hard, and maybe you'll start. And then the head coach would come to me and be like, why don't we get this kid? I don't know. And then NFL, I mean, NFL, there's no loyalty in that business, and the hours are crazy. And so my family is very rooted here in New Jersey. We're not going anywhere. And so I wouldn't want to put that on them. I don't want to do long distance from them. So I think I'm in a good spot where I'm at. It's a great school. It's a great community. And so as long as I don't do anything stupid and they don't fire me, it should be pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Glad you're enjoying making an impact on those guys. And we're pretty aligned with our thoughts on college and pro coaching. All right. So you're in New Jersey. I know you're still affiliated in a great way with the Jets. I see pictures of you, around the facility and whatnot. I think you told Sauce Gardner the other day that you'd be able to help him out with a barbecue and whatnot. So you're involved to an extent with the team still. So what's your confidence right now that the Jets can get it rolling this season?
I'm still pretty confident. I'm a big believer in Aaron Rodgers, have been, his whole career. And, I think he can get it done. I think what we're seeing right now is, the obviously lack of playing together last year with the injury. That's going to make it tough when you have a rebuild offensive line. I think without a true preseason anymore, these guys aren't playing preseason games like we used to. You get a quarter for the first game, you get the first half for the second game, and then you play into the third quarter for the third game, and then you get a little rest for the fourth game. They don't do that anymore, right? And so you don't get the opportunity, and I think you see it across the board in the league, to really gel with everybody because you're not as an offensive lineman, when the quarterback's standing there with a red jersey, you don't have that true sense of urgency that, hey, if I mess up, he's going to get hit. And so I think it's just still a gelling process, and we're still early in the season. So I mean, we're 5 games in. I think they have a steady plan. I think they have a great quarterback. They have weapons on the outside. They have an offensive line who is struggling a little bit, but also doing some good things. So there's the opportunity there. It's going to be a great game this Monday night. Seeing these two titans of the AFC East clashing against each other. So I'm hoping we get a little wager on there too, because I need something. I need a little action on the game with you.
Yeah, we can make that happen for sure. Yeah, so to your point about the preseason, so Josh Allen fumbles on the first drive this season, fairly clean pocket. It's like 4 seconds into it, he's standing straight up and down and just gets stripped. And he essentially said the same thing as the offensive coordinator after the game, that when you don't get much work in the preseason and they don't ever touch you as a quarterback, even a 7th-year guy, he's going to be just a little slow in getting acclimated, like, oh, these guys can actually touch me again. I can't just sit here like a statue in the pocket. And that's a veteran. And so you talk about some of these young guys, some of these young linemen, I almost feel bad for them at times when they get no work in the preseason, because you go from training camp practice to a preseason game. Generally, it's a step up in speed. Then you get to the regular season. Ooh, there's another step up. Well, they're almost taking 2 steps up immediately, going from training camp practices into the games. And so, anyways, you were talking about Aaron Rodgers. Has the New York media turned on him at all, or are they still, allowing him to kind of get it going in this second year in New York?
Yeah, I think the New York media, it's a fickle mob that it will come at you, and as long as you can control your emotions and everything. And I think Aaron's done a great job of that since coming to New York, of dealing with the New York media, because it is its own special beast that you kind of have to figure out. But so far, right now, it's been kind of touch and go, with the offense, and especially, you can't have those interceptions in London because, for everybody that woke up to watch the game, everyone sees that, and it's like, oh well, maybe Aaron isn't Aaron anymore, but then you see him make the plays that he does, and you're like, no, he's still a really good quarterback. I think Robert Saleh said it best when dealing with the media. When we win a game, we're going to the Super Bowl. When we lose a game, everyone needs to be fired. And so
Right.
it's that hot and cold. There's no in between. And I've dealt with that for years. There's no gray area. And so I think he's been managing the media well. And I think, he's a smart guy. He knows the game. He knows what they're trying to get out of him, and that they need the clicks too. So I think I'm not too worried about Aaron in the media.
Yeah, he handles it well. All right, so speaking of Aaron in the media, so him and Salah got into a little bit of a, I don't know, just like a, whether it was a miscommunication at the podium or whatever it was, when he was talking about the cadence. Now, our mutual friend Brano Giacomini said part of the reason he didn't make the Green Bay Packers was because Aaron Rodgers' cadence was so difficult to learn that he was either late or jumped off sides almost every single play when he was playing in Green Bay. That being said, he's had a lot of offensive linemen that have handled his snap counts over the years. What's your thoughts on, hey, let's dial back the snap counts so we don't have the pre-snap penalties? And then Aaron goes, well, why don't we just hold these guys accountable? As you're watching this, what are your thoughts on it?
Obviously, first off, we got to admit that Breno is just a big dumb animal.
Right.
So I don't know if we can put a lot of faith in that. And I say that coming from a place of love. Breno's probably one of the top 3 people that I ever played with, because for people that don't know Breno, he's 6'7" or 6'6", 330 pounds when we played, and his parents are from Brazil, moved to Boston. So Portuguese is his first language, English is his second, with a Boston accent.
Right.
You can only imagine that kid growing up and who he turned into. So Breno, I love Breno. He's amazing. But yeah, it is difficult, and I think that's where Aaron, when you talk about holding guys accountable, that is what a veteran quarterback should say. He should say, hey, listen, we're going to do hard things. This is the NFL. We're not babying people. If you can't do it, we'll find people who can. And, I think that's A-OK in my book, because, those things make you better. And if you can't handle it, then you don't deserve to be on the field. with a Hall of Fame caliber guy. And I think that would be the challenge to anybody that would question, like, hey, maybe we should simplify it. Why simplify it? Why not just do better? And so I think that is perfectly fine in my book.
Yeah, it's amazing how full circle things come in the league because the offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, was my offensive coordinator in Buffalo. And I was always on Nate about how we have to start mixing up the snap count more because the defensive line's constantly getting a jump on us. It's hard for the quarterbacks to get a pre snap read on coverages because we were so simple. And now the narrative is that their cadences are too complex. It's amazing what, maybe a 10, 12-year period can make for an offensive coordinator as they develop. Let's take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors, and that's Dano's Seasoning. Let Dano's elevate your tailgate this football season. You got to check out their variety of seasonings. They got their new jalapeno seasoning. You got to try that one. Check out the link in the show notes to purchase online or go to one of the retail stores near you that sells the Dano's Seasoning. Yum, yum, get you some. All right, so seems like Jets fans and Bills fans all want Davante Adams. Who knows if he's available? Who knows if either team can make it work cap-wise, trade-wise, whatever it is. In your opinion, are the Jets going to at least try and make a run after Davante Adams?
I mean, I would assume, given his relationship with Aaron, I believe Aaron's publicly said that he's his favorite wide receiver that he ever played with. So I assume that they'll make a hard press for him, whether or not he's available, whether or not there's the right price for it. I think that's where you have to hope the organization doesn't do something stupid and mortgage the future for a guy. How long are we getting? What are we getting out of him, and all those things. So I think there's forces to play there. How it's going to play out, it's going to be strung out in the media like no one's business. Everyone's going to have speculations. They'll probably be following some sort of flight tracker, making sure to see where he's going and everything. So it'll be a spectacle, but it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. And I'm kind of, if I were playing the odds, I would probably bet that he'll be a New York Jet if he does get traded.
Yeah, I would say so. But at this point, I think the Bills may make a run at him as well. They have reportedly made a call. I feel like Brandon Beane's always making a call, though. And sometimes it's potentially just to jack up the trade price. Like, oh, the Bills are in on this one as well. I mean, maybe Beane's bored at his desk. I'm not sure. But regardless,
I mean,
go ahead.
if you know he wants to go to the Jets, and you get the opportunity to make it more lucrative, that they have to spend more capital to get him, and it hurts an AFC rival. I would make that call, 10 out of 10 times too, even if I had no desire whatsoever to trade for him. But if it adds to misery for a rival, why not?
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's give a quick shout out to Prime. Check out their new collaborations. Got one with Yankees, Aaron Judge, WWE. They got some fun ones out there. They're hitting our household. Everybody go check those out. All right, so switching gears a little bit, what are your thoughts? We're Buffalo media. We live and die with the Bills. What are your thoughts from the outside looking in on this Bills team so far this season?
I think it's going okay. I think it's tough to tell this early in the season, and like we talked about earlier about the preseason, I feel like I've gotten away these past 2 or 3 years of trying to figure out teams in this first quarter of the season, because
Right.
I feel like you're just starting to scratch the surface because of what they're like. And it's not even August preseason. We're talking about what we've gotten to in the spring. Back when we were playing, we used to be back in workouts before St. Patty's Day. And, now, they're not showing up till what, like early April?
Mid-April, yeah.
And so, like, when you're starting that timeline, it's so condensed and practices are so short. It puts a lot on individual guys to be able to get that information and to understand it. So I'm now in this process of watching the NFL where I kind of just forget about the first quarter of the season. Like, I'm not worried about teams until we hit the midway point and being like, all right, this team's a solid player. This team's hurting, or they're just mid road. Because I feel like with the way that the NFL has gone in the off season and with training camp, you can't put like your finger on it to say, all right, yeah, they're doing great. Because like you look at Minnesota, and Minnesota's firing on all cylinders, right? They're undefeated, look like a fantastic team. But is that just because they've gotten lucky in a fluke? or do they have extra? Did they get extra reps in? I don't know. And so like you just don't know as you're watching these teams because of the lack of time that they've had together. In the preseason.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Real quick on Minnesota. To me, when I watch Minnesota, and I've thought this for a couple years now with Kevin O'Connell as the head coach, they just look sharp to me. Like the way they break the huddle, the way they motion, the way their formations mirror run and pass exactly look the same. To me, they just have like a sharp operation. They beat Buffalo in Buffalo 2 years ago, I guess. And after the game, like, it took Josh Allen fumbling a snap on the goal line. They pick it up for a touchdown. The fluky catch by Justin, I guess maybe not fluky at this point of his career, but he
Yeah.
makes like this miraculous catch on 4th and 19 to move the chains. But to me, like throughout that game, I just kept thinking, man, they look so sharp. Like I'd like to see how they do walkthroughs because a lot of, instead of 2 days nowadays, it's okay at a walkthrough. Well, if your team's not taking that serious, you're just not going to be sharp or as sharp as maybe the other. So, side note, to me, they have an impressive operation.
They do, and I was fortunate to be with Kevin when he was with us with the Jets for a couple of years, the Sanchez years, and so I've always held him in a high regard, and the way that he prepared, the way that he knew he was a backup guy, and so he took his role very seriously, and the way that he helped Sanchez prepare, the notes that he would have, the way that he watched film, I knew he was something special. I always had high hopes for him on the field. He was the prototypical 6'4" quarterback that would sit back, drop back, and throw. And unfortunately, I think injuries derailed that because I think he would have been a really fantastic quarterback in the league. But now seeing him as a coach, it makes perfect sense that he's done well in Minnesota because of the way I saw him as a player. And so I'm happy for him. I love Kevin, and so it's been neat to watch him. I was a little disappointed that he had to go ahead and beat my Jets, but it's still rooting for the guy and not the jersey on that one.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how you start rooting for teams that your buddies are coaching on, or someone within the organization. And then, with me working for the Bills, like my son wanted to be Justin Jefferson for Halloween. And I said, well, that's fine. He's in the NFC. Like, that's cool. And then he asked for a Lamar Jackson jersey. I'm like, maybe a
Ugh.
Louisville Lamar Jackson jersey, yes. But you can't just be like rolling around school in a Ravens jersey when your dad worked and played his whole career for the Bills. So, anyways,
Yeah,
all right, let's
that
switch
was
gears a
bad.
little bit. All right, so I saw that you went to Taylor Swift in London this summer. We are about to bite a serious bullet on 4 tickets for Taylor Swift in Indianapolis coming up. Is it
Mm-hmm.
worth it?
It's worth it. It's a great show, and I think as a father of Swifties,
Yep.
it was awesome watching them enjoy it, and so I think that was the best part of the experience was the joy that they got from it. And I mean, she does put on a great show. She went for it was like 3 some hours, and so that like you got to appreciate the effort and the artistry of it, and the choreography and everything that goes into with performing for 3 hours, basically nonstop. And so it was a lot of fun. My daughters had a blast. My wife had a blast. My sons were, they were there, begrudgingly, but they did it. And even my little guy, he had a couple of bracelets, so he wanted to trade. It was a great experience. So you're going to have a lot of fun. But no, like I would appreciate it more, as you watch it through your little Swifties eyes,
Yeah.
and seeing them enjoy it. I think that brings the true joy of it.
Yeah, and that's 98% of the reason I want to go is just watch my little girl see Taylor Swift in live in concert for the first time. All right, so what's the deal with the bracelets? I could do this research, but I figure I'm just going to ask you because you mentioned it. What is the deal with the bracelets? I know like Travis Kelsey had brought one for her, or tried to give her one. What's with these bracelets?
I lived it and I still don't know it. I don't know. I guess like yeah, my daughter was making some bracelets that she was going to trade with other people, and I think it's just kind of a neat opportunity that like you have bracelets and you just kind of connect with other fans. I don't really know exactly. I had the ones that we had wouldn't really fit around my wrist, so I was wearing more as like wrapped up rings, like hair ties on my finger. But it was kind of just a neat little thing. Someone would come around and like run up, and one of my daughters would be like, "Oh, I trade you this one," and it was kind of neat. So I don't get the origin, I don't understand it, but it was fun to watch it.
All right, noted. All right, I'm going to need to do a little bit more research.
You
All
need a
right,
little bit more research on that.
so I never thought we'd see the day, but our boy, one of our best friends, Ryan Fitzpatrick, is now on social media. What was your reaction when you saw Ryan Fitzpatrick has finally joined social media?
Well, the first one is I had to text him and find out, like, is this really you or is this someone impersonating? Because I didn't believe it was going to happen. And so it's funny that he was forced into it, by his job demands and everything. And it's great that he is involved in it. He's pretty active as well. So I'm happy for him. I'm actually really mad at him right now. And so I hope that he is listening and paying attention, because he, obviously he does the Thursday night games for Amazon, and came into the Jets, and I didn't even, it kind of went over my head. We're so crazy with the kids and everything. I knew I was going to the Jets game on Thursday, but I completely forgot that he would be there. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait, he comes in the day before. I was like, he never texts me. Like, hey, maybe we could grab dinner or, whatever. So when I saw him Thursday, I was like, hey, what gives? You're not going to give me a heads up? Like, we could have grabbed dinner or something. He goes, yeah, just busy. I was like, all right, great. He goes, but hey, great news. I'm going to be back here for the Giants game next week. I was like, all right. And he's like, I'm either going to come in earlier or I'm going to stay later because I have some stuff I got to do. So fantastic. Just shoot me a text. Like, I'm around, obviously. And the Giants game came and went, and no text. I know. It was a crushing blow. But what are you going to do?
And when you got 7 kids, I get there's chaos going on, but he just saw you. Fitz is also the worst texter of all time. He responds to 95% of texts with just emojis. And it's like the response emoji. So thumbs up, exclamation point, haha. On the Barstool podcast they went on, when he went on Part of My Take, they thought that's in case he ever goes to court, he'll have no records of text messages to anybody. It'll just be responses and emojis. But he wanted me to bring up to you if he can get some of his money back for the no knock in the previous employment fines that he accumulated back in 2015, 2016. And to give some context to the listeners, within the offensive line room, we have these fine systems we've talked about on the podcast before. So these are fines that he was getting implemented to him from the offensive line.
Yes. So one of our favorite fines that we had was the no knock fine. It is very impolite to open a door to a meeting room without knocking. And so we were getting upset about it because people would, as you're meeting as an offensive line, someone would just open a door and be like, hey, what are we doing on this protection? And, you'd answer it and like, it's kind of rude. Like, I feel like, we should have a system that says, hey, if you don't knock, you get fined. But they were like, well, if you don't tell anybody, how would they know? It was a great point. So I went to our buildings manager and I got a sign made that was same as like the little sign that says offensive line room right above it. And it says, please knock. And so that way now, if you open the door without knocking, you got fined. And it was a great way to get people on the board because our system, if you're on the offensive line, you're automatically on the board. If you did something to get fined, you were then added to the board and you are now subjected to the rest of the fines that are on the board. So the no knock was great because if someone opened the door, they would be hit with the no knock fine. They would end up being put onto the board, and then they were then subject to all the other fines that were on the board. And so one of those previous employments, if you brought up that you were ever at a different organization and you mentioned the organization by name, you would also get fined. And so when Chan Gailey came as our offensive coordinator and he was with Fitz, they would discuss a lot of times their previous employment place by using the proper name, and that would earn Fitz a lot of fines.
Oh, that's so good. How much was the no knock fine?
No knock was $50, I think.
That's good.
And there was one day, I don't know why, he was fired up. He came in, he knocked, came in, and he was, I don't know if it was something good or something bad. I forget the exact situation, but all of a sudden he slams the door closed, and then he opens and closes it like 5 more times. He goes, "There's all your no knocks," and slams it closed. So he racked up $250 in fines in about a 5 second period.
Oh, that's awesome. Those fines can stack up quickly. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in for the game Sunday, flying in from Hot Springs, Virginia, fall break with the family. Where should I
Love it.
go to eat on Sunday night? We usually stay in Jersey City.
Jersey City. Ooh, I'm not overly familiar with the City, Hoboken area. I just don't get out that way like I used to. I will have to get back to you on that one. Obviously, you're a steps throw from the city, so
Right.
you could probably pop in and get anywhere and everywhere.
What's your favorite
Um,
restaurant in the city?
Ooh, I'm my favorite one just because of the ambiance and the craziness, and it's such a iconic venue. Rayos,
Yep.
the Italian place, like that is just. I love the feeling there. I know that I could probably get better Italian food at other restaurants, but there's something old school about it. It's so small and such a family atmosphere. I love it. But I think if you really want to go casual, you could just run across the river real quick, pop in, and get yourself some Prince Street pizza. That
Ooh.
would be a good little stop for you. It's a Sicilian style square pie that you will love.
All right. All right. Noted. Prince Pizza. All right. Have you had wings in Buffalo? I know we used to eat at the Chop House when you come in before games. Have you ever had wings in Buffalo though?
Not usually because we were usually getting the steak, but there was one game I forget what it was, but a coach went out and got wings for us. And when he was doing bed check, he was dropping off packets of wings. It was early in the career when I could pull that off, and I was still up for bed check. By the end of the career, bed check was pointless because I was already asleep by like 9 o'clock.
Right.
But yeah, I think I had Anchor Bar the one time, but it was takeout, so I can't say exactly that it was the best showing that it could have had, but they were still amazing. And
Yeah.
I want to get up there because I want to do the tour of the Buffalo Wings because Buffalo Wings are fantastic, and I love them. I try them everywhere I go, so I need to get back up to Buffalo to really do the full tour.
Okay. Jets at Bills later in the year. Let's make this happen. Like, and I'm being dead serious because you got robbed getting Anchor Bar. That's like I don't know. It'd be like going to Philadelphia and getting a cheesesteak from the crappiest spot
Geno's.
that's got, yeah, Geno's, but it's got the most marketing around it. That would be, or they say,
Hmm.
oh, this is the original, but that doesn't mean it's anywhere close to the best. So we'll change
Right.
that. All right. Give me a prediction for the game this Monday night.
All right, it's going to be a high scoring affair. Our defense has been playing great lately, but I feel like they're going to have a letdown game because I think the Bills' offense is pretty solid. But I think the offense is going to pick it up on our side. So I'm going to go. Obviously, the Jets are going to win, but I'm going to give it a 35-28 high scoring affair.
All right. I'm going to go 28-17 Bills. All right. And so
Okay.
you said we got to make a wager. All right. So I own part of Dano's Seasoning, and you own a barbecue sauce company.
Yep. 7-4 BBQ.
Care packages sent to the other one, like a legit big time care package sent to the other one, win or lose.
I love it. It's on. Perfect.
And that's a lot better than us saying we're going to bet a bunch of money and then I get in trouble with my bosses. So,
Exactly.
anyways, hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the time, brother. It's always great catching up.
Of course. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.